They say love is blind, but sometimes it's a carefully constructed illusion, a performance designed to trap you in a web of deceit. This isn't just a story about a wife's affair. It's about the ultimate betrayal, a fake pregnancy, a manipulation so profound it threatened to shatter my entire world. Just wait until you see what a beautifully wrapped baby gift exposed about the woman I swore to cherish and the life I thought we were building. My name is David. For most of my life, I've been a man of simple truths, a believer in the power of honesty and the sanctity of vows. I found solace in the predictable rhythm of my life with my wife, Jessica. She was my anchor, my confidant, the woman who understood my quiet nature and shared my dreams. And then, the news that changed everything. We were going to be parents. The thought of impending fatherhood filled me with an almost unbearable joy. A sense of purpose I hadn't known was missing. I envisioned sleepless nights, tiny hands clutching my finger, the laughter of a child filling our home. Every decision, every plan, every aspiration revolved around this new life we were creating. Our home, from the outside, was a picture of domestic bliss, a testament to shared values, mutual respect, and a deep, abiding love. I believed in the transparency of our relationship, the unspoken understanding that we had no secrets from each other. I was the man who stood by his wife, through thick and thin, through the triumphs and the challenges of a life intertwined with the woman I loved. Until the day the silence grew too loud, the distance too vast, the unspoken truths too heavy to bear. Until the day the person I loved, the person I trusted, began to reveal the rot beneath the polished surface, a rot that threatened to consume not just my marriage, but the very essence of my future. It started subtly, like a faint, almost imperceptible crack in the foundation of our seemingly solid marriage and the joyous anticipation of parenthood. Jessica, usually so open, so engaged, began to drift. Her conversations became hushed, her glances furtive, her laughter a little too forced when I entered the room. I'd attribute it to the stresses of pregnancy, the demands of her work, the natural anxieties of impending motherhood. She was tired, I told myself, and I, as the understanding husband, needed to be patient. But the emotional distance grew, a chasm opening between us that no amount of shared dinners or quiet evenings could bridge. Our conversations became superficial, devoid of the intimacy we once shared. She dismissed my concerns about her health with a wave of her hand, a patronizing smile, or a quick change of subject. I'd find myself staring at her across the dinner table, a stranger in my own home, wondering where the woman I loved had gone. The unease grew, a persistent hum beneath the surface of our perfect lives. It was like a tiny persistent crack in a priceless piece of pottery. Individually, each discrepancy was minor. Collectively, they began to form a dissonant chord, a subtle warning that something was fundamentally wrong with the harmony of my marriage and the integrity of our shared future. I noticed a new, almost possessive attachment to her phone, a quick flick of her wrist to hide the screen when I walked into the room. She started taking calls in private, her voice hushed, her demeanor guarded. She, who had always been so transparent, so open, was now shrouded in a veil of secrecy. And the more I observed, the more I realized that this wasn't just about a casual distraction. This was about a deliberate, calculated act of deception, a hidden life she was building, one secret at a time, outside the confines of our marriage and our shared dream of a family. The unexplained absences became more frequent, more glaring. Jessica would have doctor's appointments that stretched into the late hours, her phone conveniently dead when I tried to reach her. She'd be resting in the spare room, her back always turned when I approached. Individually, these might have been dismissed as normal occurrences during pregnancy, but together they formed a pattern, a rhythm of deceit that began to resonate with a chilling familiarity. I'd noticed subtle changes in her behavior, a new nervousness, a subtle arrogance that wasn't there before. Her eyes would dart away when I asked about the baby, her answers vague, evasive. She'd share inside jokes with friends on the phone, her laughter echoing with a familiarity that felt alien to me. It was as if she were living a parallel life, a world where I was merely a peripheral character, an unwitting prop in her clandestine drama. I tried to rationalize it, to dismiss my growing suspicions as paranoia. She was pregnant, after all, my wife. The thought of her betraying me, of her conspiring behind my back was too painful to contemplate. But the evidence, though circumstantial, began to accumulate, a relentless tide of unsettling observations. The way she'd quickly changed the subject when I entered a room, the sudden silences, the nervous glances. It was a dance of deception, a carefully choreographed performance designed to keep me in the dark. And the more I observed, the more I realized that this wasn't just about a casual friendship. This was about a deliberate, calculated act of betrayal, a hidden life she was building, one secret at a time, with a person who was supposed to be her closest confidant. The incriminating evidence arrived not as a sudden explosion, but as a slow, agonizing drip, each drop a corrosive acid eating away at the last vestiges of my trust. It began with a misplaced laundry basket, Jessica's basket, left carelessly in the spare room. A strange, fleshy object protruded from beneath a pile of clothes. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. Curiosity, a dangerous serpent, coiled in my gut. I pulled it out, my fingers trembling, half expecting a forgotten toy, a strange pillow. What I found instead was a meticulously crafted prosthetic pregnancy bump, complete with straps and realistic contours. Beneath it, a stack of glossy, official-looking ultrasound images, each one dated, each one seemingly depicting the growth of our child. But something was off. The dates didn't quite align with her supposed due date. The images, while convincing, had a subtle, almost imperceptible uniformity, a lack of the natural variations I'd seen in real ultrasounds. And then a small, almost hidden detail. A faint watermark on one of the images, a logo for an online novelty store specializing in realistic props. The raw, visceral pain of discovery hit me with the force of a physical blow, leaving me gasping for air. It wasn't just the fake pregnancy. It was the audacity, the blatant disregard for our marriage, for our shared dream, for the trust I had placed in her. The physical evidence was a dagger, plunged deep into my heart, twisting with every stitch, every pixel. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a desecration of everything I held dear, a theft of my very future. The truth, unvarnished and brutal, lay bare before me, and in that moment I knew with a chilling certainty that my life, irrevocably altered, could never be the same. The initial shock was a suffocating blanket, leaving me numb, disoriented, unable to process the enormity of the deception. My mind reeled, replaying every subtle sign, every evasive answer, every shared glance. The puzzle pieces, once scattered and meaningless, now clicked into place with horrifying precision. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted implicitly, was a stranger, a master of manipulation, living a double life right under my nose. The pain was immense, a raw wound that throbbed with every memory of our shared life, our shared purpose, our shared dream of a family. But beneath the heartbreak, a cold, calculated resolve began to form. My first instinct was to confront her, to scream, to demand answers, to unleash the torrent of pain and rage that threatened to consume me. But then a different thought emerged, a quiet whisper of strategy, a flicker of my own understanding of her manipulative nature. I knew Jessica. I knew her temperament, her ability to deny, to gaslight, to spin the narrative against me. A direct confrontation would only lead to a messy, emotional battle, a public spectacle that would leave me vulnerable and exposed. No, I needed to be strategic. I needed to use my knowledge of her world, of her obsession with appearances, to my advantage. The emotional toll of living with this knowledge was immense. I felt a profound sense of isolation, unable to confide in anyone, trapped in a silent world of betrayal. But the pain began to morph into a steely determination. This wasn't about a momentary outburst. It was about justice, about reclaiming my life, and about exposing the truth in a way that would resonate, not just with me, but with the friends and family she had so brazenly deceived. The physical evidence was my weapon, and I, the devoted husband, would be the architect of her downfall, using her own carefully constructed world against her. As the shock began to subside, the full extent of Jessica's deception began to unfold, revealing not just a fake pregnancy, but a clandestine affair with a man she truly loved, a man named Alex. The discovery of their intimate texts, their secret rendezvous, their shared dreams of a future together. It was a second, equally devastating blow. It wasn't just about the fake baby, it was about a fake life, a carefully constructed facade designed to trap me, to secure her future, while she pursued her true desires with another man. Alex, I learned, was a struggling artist, a man she had met through a mutual friend. Their messages were filled with a passion and intimacy that had long been absent from our marriage. She spoke of him with a tenderness she no longer showed me, of a connection she claimed was destiny. The betrayal was not just a physical act, it was an emotional abandonment, a complete disregard for our shared history, our vows, our love. The realization that she had been faking not just a pregnancy, but her entire emotional investment in our marriage was a bitter pill to swallow. It was a calculated, cold-hearted manipulation designed to extract what she wanted from me, financial security, a stable home, while she pursued her own happiness elsewhere. The fake pregnancy, I now understood, was merely a tool, a means to an end, a way to solidify her position, to ensure my continued devotion while she planned her escape. The deception ran deeper than I could have ever imagined, a labyrinthine web of lies that had been woven around me, slowly suffocating the life out of our marriage. And in that moment, I knew that this wasn't just about exposing an affair. It was about exposing a master manipulator, a woman who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted, even if it meant destroying everything in her path. As I meticulously planned my strategic exposure, a subtle yet persistent anomaly in the digital evidence began to surface. The fake ultrasound images, while convincing, had a subtle, almost imperceptible uniformity, a lack of the natural variations I'd seen in real ultrasounds. And then a small, almost hidden detail, a faint watermark on one of the images, a logo for an online novelty store specializing in realistic props. But beneath that, almost invisible, was another, even fainter watermark. A symbol, a stylized M intertwined with a C. It was a logo I'd seen before on a business card from a shady consulting firm Jessica had briefly worked for years ago, a firm that specialized in personal branding and reputation management. A fleeting thought, a whisper of unease, suggested that Jessica's fake pregnancy and affair with Alex weren't just about personal gratification or a desire for freedom. There were subtle mentions of client success stories, of strategic exits, of maximizing returns in her old emails from that firm, all linked to a powerful, shadowy network specializing in elaborate personal deceptions for financial gain. It looked like her fake pregnancy and her public persona were not just about personal indiscretion. They were a distraction, a brilliant, cruel smokescreen. While she was busy cultivating her secret life, and I was consumed by her infidelity, a far more insidious plot was lurking beneath the surface, a plot to exploit my assets, or perhaps to undermine my business for competitive advantage. The betrayal was a dagger, but these digital breadcrumbs, these brief, unsettling glimpses into a world beyond simple infidelity, felt like a poison, slowly seeping into the very core of my being. It hinted at a deeper, more insidious betrayal, a connection I couldn't yet grasp, but one that promised to unravel far more than just my marriage. This wasn't just about a broken heart. It was about a broken trust on a much grander, more manipulative, and potentially criminal scale. And I had only just scratched the surface of a network of professional deceivers that threatened to infiltrate every aspect of my life. The prosthetic bump, the fake ultrasound images, the intimate texts with Alex, the irrefutable evidence of Jessica's deception had pierced through the illusion of my devoted husband life. The initial shock had given way to a cold, calculated resolve. Confronting her directly was not an option. Her charm, her manipulative nature, her ability to twist narratives, I knew she would deny everything, gaslight me, and turn me into the villain. But I also knew our social circle, the intricate web of unspoken rules, and the obsession with appearances. I had spent years observing the dynamics, the subtle power plays, the unwritten codes of conduct. This knowledge, once a passive understanding, now became my most potent weapon. My decision to act was not born of rage, but of a cold, calculated resolve. This wasn't about emotional revenge, it was about justice, about holding her accountable for her betrayal, not just to me, but to the very fabric of our shared lives, to the trust she had so brazenly violated. The thought of exposing her, of bringing down the woman I had once loved, was agonizing. But the alternative, allowing her to continue her deceit, to continue manipulating our friends and family, to continue living a lie, was unthinkable. I knew the risks, the potential for backlash, the accusations of being a bitter husband, the possibility of shattering our social facade. But the need for truth, for an end to the agonizing uncertainty, outweighed every fear. I would use her own system against her, a silent, insidious force that would dismantle her life, piece by painful piece. The stage was set, not in a courtroom, but within the hallowed halls of her meticulously planned baby shower, and the curtain was about to rise on Jessica's true character. My plan was meticulous, a chess game played in the shadows of our seemingly perfect life. The goal was to expose her deceit at the baby shower, but in a way that would make the evidence undeniable, ensuring maximum impact and minimizing any suspicion on me. I knew her obsession with appearances, the importance of maintaining a perfect facade. I crafted a carefully curated collection of evidence, stripping away any personal emotion, presenting only the cold, hard facts, the prosthetic bump, the fake ultrasound images, and the intimate text with Alex. I made sure to include specific details about her evasive answers, about her unexplained absences, about the subtle ways she had manipulated me and our friends. This would lend authenticity to the anonymous source, making it appear as if a concerned friend, a disgruntled relative, or even an internal whistleblower was exposing the truth. I used a secure, encrypted drive to store the evidence, ensuring no digital trace could lead back to me. I timed the revelation to coincide with the gift opening ceremony, a moment of shared joy and vulnerability, further amplifying its impact. Every detail was meticulously planned, every piece of evidence chosen with precision. It was a silent, insidious operation, designed to trigger a confrontation that would expose Jessica's deceit, not through my direct confrontation, but through the very friends and family she had so brazenly deceived. The evidence was not a weapon of destruction, but a tool of revelation, designed to expose the truth, no matter how painful that truth might be. The baby shower, a meticulously planned affair, became the perfect stage for my meticulously planned unmasking. It was a gathering where appearances were everything, where smiles were plastered on faces, and unspoken tensions simmered beneath the surface. Every detail, from the pastel decorations to the gourmet catering, was designed to project an image of perfect domestic bliss. This year, however, it would be the setting for a different kind of memory, a different kind of tradition. The gift opening ceremony, a highlight of every baby shower, was the ideal moment for maximum impact. It was a time when everyone's attention was focused on the gifts, a time when emotions ran high, a time when the guard was down. I knew Jessica's love for being the center of attention, her sentimental attachment to grand gestures. This would be her undoing. I had volunteered to help organize the gifts, a seemingly innocent act that would provide me with the perfect cover. I spent hours sifting through countless baby clothes, toys, and nursery decor, carefully selecting moments that would evoke warmth and laughter, moments that would lull her into a false sense of security. And then, at the opportune moment, I would insert the truth, a beautifully wrapped box disguised as an innocent baby gift. The baby shower, once a symbol of new beginnings and shared joy, would become the crucible of truth, a place where the facade would shatter, and the true nature of Jessica's betrayal would be laid bare for all to see. The stage was set, the actors were in place, and the curtain was about to rise on the most dramatic baby shower in our history. Crafting the placement of the gift was an exercise in psychological warfare, a delicate balance between normalcy and brutal truth. I started with the innocent, the heartwarming moments, placing adorable onesies, tiny booties, and cuddly stuffed animals. I wanted to evoke a sense of warmth, of shared anticipation, of unbreakable bonds. This would make the contrast with the truth even more jarring, even more devastating. Then, meticulously, I began to weave in the incriminating evidence. I chose a beautifully wrapped box similar in size and shape to the other baby gifts and carefully placed it amidst a pile of larger presents. Inside, nestled amongst layers of tissue paper, was the prosthetic bump carefully folded and the stack of fake ultrasound images, along with the damning note, "Congratulations on your real baby, just not with me." I ensured the note was handwritten in a neutral, almost impersonal script to avoid any immediate suspicion. I spent hours on the technical aspects, ensuring seamless integration, perfect timing, and maximum visual impact. The gift was not just a present, it was a narrative, a carefully constructed story of deception, designed to expose the truth in the most public and undeniable way possible. It was a silent scream, a visual indictment, a testament to the power of truth, even when delivered through a seemingly innocent baby gift. As the gift opening ceremony approached, a quiet hum of anticipation settled over me, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. I maintained a calm exterior, a mask of normalcy, interacting with Jessica as if nothing were amiss. Her casual smiles, her easy laughter, her feigned excitement, it all felt like a cruel mockery, a performance designed to keep me in the dark. But beneath my composed facade, a storm raged. Every coo over a tiny onesie, every gush over a miniature rattle, every congratulatory hug fueled my resolve. I watched her. This woman who had so brazenly betrayed me, moving through the gathering with an air of impunity, oblivious to the beautifully wrapped package hanging over her head. The tension was almost unbearable, a silent scream trapped within my chest. I rehearsed the moment in my mind, over and over again, anticipating every reaction, every possible outcome. Would she deny it? Would she try to spin the narrative? Would our friends and family turn against me? The questions swirled, a relentless torrent of doubt and fear. But then I would remember the pain, the humiliation, the shattered dream of fatherhood, and my resolve would harden. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about truth, about reclaiming my dignity, about exposing the rot at the heart of her manipulative schemes. The anticipation was a crucible, forging my determination, preparing me for the inevitable explosion. I was ready to shatter the facade, ready to expose the truth, ready to face the consequences, whatever they may be. The baby shower, once a symbol of new beginnings, was about to become the stage for a reckoning, a moment of truth that would forever alter the landscape of our lives. As I meticulously prepared for the unmasking, a subtle yet persistent anomaly in the digital evidence began to surface. The fake ultrasound images, while convincing, had a subtle, almost imperceptible uniformity, a lack of the natural variations I'd seen in real ultrasounds. And then, a small, almost hidden detail, a faint watermark on one of the images, a logo for an online novelty store specializing in realistic props. But beneath that, almost invisible, was another, even fainter watermark, a symbol, a stylized M intertwined with a C. It was a logo I'd seen before, on a business card from a shady consulting firm Jessica had briefly worked for years ago, a firm that specialized in personal branding and reputation management. A fleeting thought, a whisper of unease, suggested that Jessica's fake pregnancy and affair with Alex weren't just about personal gratification or a desire for freedom. There were subtle mentions of client success stories, of strategic exits, of maximizing returns in her old emails from that firm, all linked to a powerful shadowy network specializing in elaborate personal deceptions for financial gain. It looked like her fake pregnancy and her public persona were not just about personal indiscretion, they were a distraction, a brilliant, cruel smokescreen. While she was busy cultivating her secret life, and I was consumed by her infidelity, a far more insidious plot was lurking beneath the surface, a plot to exploit my assets, or perhaps to undermine my business for competitive advantage. The betrayal was a dagger, but these digital breadcrumbs, these brief, unsettling glimpses into a world beyond simple infidelity, felt like a poison, slowly seeping into the very core of my being. It hinted at a deeper, more insidious betrayal, a connection I couldn't yet grasp, but one that promised to unravel far more than just my marriage. This wasn't just about a broken heart. It was about a broken trust on a much grander, more manipulative, and potentially criminal scale. And I had only just scratched the surface of a network of professional deceivers that threatened to infiltrate every aspect of my life. The air in the beautifully decorated living room was thick with anticipation, a sweet, cloying scent of baby powder and saccharine smiles. Jessica, radiant in a flowing maternity dress that perfectly accentuated her fabricated bump, sat enthroned amidst a mountain of brightly wrapped gifts. Her laughter, light and effervescent, echoed through the room, a cruel counterpoint to the silent storm brewing within me. The gift opening ceremony began, a ritual of oohs and ahs, of delighted squeals over tiny booties and miniature onesies. Each present was meticulously unwrapped, admired, and then passed around for inspection, a testament to the generosity of our friends and family. Jessica, ever the performer, played her role to perfection, her eyes sparkling with feigned joy, her voice a little too high-pitched with excitement. I sat beside her, a silent observer in this elaborate charade, my heart a cold, hard knot in my chest. My gaze drifted over the faces of our loved ones. My parents, beaming with pride, her parents, their eyes shining with anticipation. Our friends, their faces alight with genuine happiness for what they believed was our impending joy. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. These people who loved and trusted us were about to witness a truth that would shatter their illusions, a truth that would expose the depths of Jessica's deceit. The gifts piled higher, a colorful testament to the love and support we supposedly shared. Each ribbon untied, each paper torn, brought us closer to the moment of reckoning. I watched Jessica's hands, her long, slender fingers deftly unwrapping a blanket, a rattle, a plush toy. My own hands, hidden beneath the table, trembled slightly, a silent tremor of anticipation. The moment was almost upon us. The carefully wrapped box, nestled amongst the other gifts, lay waiting, a silent harbinger of the chaos to come. The room buzzed with happy chatter, oblivious to the impending storm, and then Jessica reached for it. My gift, the one I had so carefully placed, so meticulously prepared. Her fingers brushed against the familiar wrapping paper, her smile widening, a flicker of genuine curiosity in her eyes. The air seemed to thicken, the laughter to die down, as if the universe itself held its breath. The stage was set, the audience was captivated, and the curtain was about to rise on the most shocking performance of her life. Jessica's fingers, once so graceful, fumbled with the ribbon, a subtle tremor betraying her composure. The paper, a delicate pastel blue, tore away, revealing the plain white box beneath. Her brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. It wasn't a typical baby gift. She lifted the lid, her eyes still holding that curious spark. And then she saw it, the prosthetic bump, carefully folded, its realistic contours a grotesque parody of life. Her breath hitched, a small strangled sound escaping her lips. Her eyes widened, a dawning horror replacing the curiosity. She reached in, her hand trembling, and pulled out the stack of glossy, official-looking ultrasound images. Her gaze flickered from the images to the prosthetic, then back to the images, her mind struggling to reconcile the impossible. A collective gasp rippled through the room, a wave of confusion washing over the faces of our friends and family. Whispers erupted, hushed and urgent, as they tried to make sense of the strange objects in Jessica's hands. And then she saw the note, my note, tucked beneath the prosthetic, a stark, unambiguous declaration of truth. Her eyes, wide with terror, scanned the words, her lips moving silently as she read, "Congratulations on your real baby, just not with me." The color drained from her face, leaving it a ghostly white. The prosthetic bump slipped from her grasp, landing with a soft thud on the plush carpet. The ultrasound images fluttered to the floor like discarded dreams. A deafening silence descended upon the room, a silence so profound it seemed to absorb all sound, all breath. Every eye in the room was fixed on Jessica, on the evidence of her deceit, on the shattered illusion of her perfect pregnancy. Her face, once so radiant, was now a mask of utter devastation, a testament to the raw, brutal force of exposed truth. The air crackled with unspoken questions, with dawning realization, with a chilling understanding that something profoundly wrong had just unfolded before their very eyes. The revelation was complete. The truth, unvarnished and brutal, lay bare for all to see. And in that moment, I knew, with a chilling certainty, that nothing would ever be the same. The silence, once deafening, erupted into a cacophony of shouts, accusations, and emotional outbursts. "What is the meaning of this, Jessica?" Her mother shrieked, her voice trembling with a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. "Is this true?" My own mother whispered, her hand clutching her chest, her eyes wide with disbelief. Jessica, cornered and exposed, tried to deny, to explain, to manipulate. "It's a joke. David's sick. He's making this up," she stammered, her voice thin and reedy, devoid of its usual confidence. But the evidence, the prosthetic bump, the fake ultrasound images were undeniable. They spoke for themselves, a silent, damning testament to her deceit. Her attempts to gaslight, to spin the narrative, were met with a wall of unwavering disbelief. Our friends, their faces a mixture of shock and anger, began to voice their outrage. "How could you, Jessica? We celebrated with you. We bought gifts." The accusations flew, a barrage of questions and condemnations. Her parents, initially defensive, began to turn on her, their faces contorted with a mixture of shame and fury. "Jessica, what have you done?" her father roared, his voice booming through the room. The chaos escalated, the shouts grew sharper, and the emotional outbursts reached a fever pitch. The baby shower, once a symbol of new beginnings, had become a battleground, a place where years of unspoken resentments and hidden truths finally exploded into the open. And in the midst of the pandemonium, I felt a strange sense of calm, a quiet satisfaction. The truth finally was out. The carefully constructed facade of her perfect life had shattered into a million pieces, revealing the ugly truth beneath. The room was a whirlwind of accusations, tears, and shattered illusions. Jessica, once the center of attention, was now the target of their collective anger, her manipulative schemes laid bare for all to see. And in that moment, I knew, with a chilling certainty, that her reign of deception was over. Amidst the swirling chaos, a profound stillness settled over me. The storm raged around Jessica, but I stood firm, a quiet anchor in the tempest. When a momentary lull in the shouting presented itself, I spoke, my voice calm, clear, and unwavering, cutting through the emotional din like a surgeon's scalpel. "I understand your shock, your anger, your confusion," I began, my gaze sweeping across the faces of our friends and family, "and I share it. For months, I have lived with a lie, a deception so profound it threatened to consume me." I paused, allowing my words to sink in, allowing the weight of the truth to settle upon them. "Jessica," I continued, my voice devoid of emotion, "has been faking her pregnancy. The evidence you see before you is irrefutable. These are not the signs of a joyous anticipation, but of a calculated manipulation." I then calmly, concisely, and without a hint of self-pity, explained the discovery of the prosthetic bump, the fake ultrasound images, and the intimate texts with Alex. I presented the facts, stripped of all emotional embellishment, allowing the truth to speak for itself. "This deception," I stated, my voice resonating with quiet authority, "is not just a betrayal of me, but of every single one of you who gathered here today in love and support. It is a betrayal of the trust we placed in her, of the dreams we shared." I then delivered the final, decisive blow. "Therefore," I announced, my gaze fixed on Jessica, who stood trembling, her face a mask of utter defeat, "I am announcing my intention to divorce Jessica. Our marriage, built on a foundation of lies, is irrevocably broken." A fresh wave of gasps rippled through the room, followed by a chorus of murmurs and whispers. But this time, the anger was directed solely at Jessica. My calm, rational explanation had shifted the narrative, turning the tide of public opinion decisively in my favor. I had not screamed, I had not accused, I had simply stated the truth, allowing it to dismantle her carefully constructed world piece by painful piece. And in that moment, I knew with a chilling certainty that her reign of deception was truly over. Jessica's public humiliation was absolute, a searing brand that would forever mark her. Her attempts to deny, to explain, to manipulate were met with a wall of unwavering evidence and the collective anger of our deceived loved ones. Her parents, their faces contorted with a mixture of shame and fury, turned their backs on her, their silence a more powerful condemnation than any words. Our friends, who had celebrated her fake pregnancy, who had showered her with gifts and well wishes, now looked at her with a mixture of disgust and profound disappointment. "How could you do this, Jessica? We trusted you." The accusations rained down upon her, a relentless barrage of condemnation. She stood isolated, alone in the center of the room, the focus of their collective outrage. Her tears, once a potent weapon, now fell on deaf ears, eliciting no sympathy, only further contempt. And then, the final crushing blow. Alex, her secret lover, who had been hiding in the shadows, emerged from the crowd, his face a mask of fear and self-preservation. He had witnessed the entire spectacle, the public unmasking, the utter destruction of Jessica's carefully constructed world. He saw not the woman he loved, but a financially ruined partner, a woman facing public disgrace and the anger of a betrayed community. His loyalty, it turned out, was as shallow as Jessica's honesty. With a muttered excuse, he quickly abandoned her, leaving her to face the consequences alone, a stark testament to the true nature of their affair. Jessica, stripped of her lies, abandoned by her lover, and disowned by her family and friends, stood utterly defeated, her manipulative schemes laid bare for all to see. The baby shower, once a celebration of new life, had become the stage for her public execution, a chilling testament to the power of truth and the unforgiving nature of betrayal. Her humiliation was complete, a bitter taste that would linger long after the last guest had departed, leaving her with nothing but the echoes of her own deceit. As the dust settled on Jessica's public downfall, and I began to rebuild my life, a subtle yet persistent anomaly in the digital evidence began to resurface. The fake ultrasound images, while convincing, had a subtle, almost imperceptible uniformity, a lack of the natural variations I'd seen in real ultrasounds, and then a small, almost hidden detail, a faint watermark on one of the images, a logo for an online novelty store specializing in realistic props. But beneath that, almost invisible, was another, even fainter watermark, a symbol, a stylized M intertwined with a C. It was a logo I'd seen before, on a business card from a shady consulting firm Jessica had briefly worked for years ago, a firm that specialized in personal branding and reputation management. A fleeting thought, a whisper of unease, suggested that Jessica's fake pregnancy and affair with Alex weren't just about personal gratification or a desire for freedom. There were subtle mentions of client success stories, of strategic exits, of maximizing returns in her old emails from that firm, all linked to a powerful shadowy network specializing in elaborate personal deceptions for financial gain. It looked like her fake pregnancy and her public persona were not just about personal indiscretion. They were a distraction, a brilliant, cruel smokescreen. While she was busy cultivating her secret life and I was consumed by her infidelity, a far more insidious plot was lurking beneath the surface, a plot to exploit my assets, or perhaps to undermine my business for competitive advantage. The betrayal was a dagger, but these digital breadcrumbs, these brief, unsettling glimpses into a world beyond simple infidelity, felt like a poison, slowly seeping into the very core of my being. It hinted at a deeper, more insidious betrayal, a connection I couldn't yet grasp, but one that promised to unravel far more than just my marriage. This wasn't just about a broken heart. It was about a broken trust on a much grander, more manipulative, and potentially criminal scale. And I had only just scratched the surface of a network of professional deceivers that threatened to infiltrate every aspect of my life. The baby shower, once a symbol of new beginnings, had become the crucible of Jessica's public downfall. The chaos, the accusations, the raw emotion, it had all culminated in her utter humiliation, leaving her isolated and abandoned. Her parents, their faces contorted with a mixture of shame and fury, had turned their backs on her, their silence a more powerful condemnation than any words. Our friends, who had celebrated her fake pregnancy, who had showered her with gifts and well wishes, now looked at her with a mixture of disgust and profound disappointment. The accusations rained down upon her, a relentless barrage of condemnation. She stood alone, stripped of her lies, abandoned by her lover Alex, who had vanished into the shadows, unwilling to face the consequences of his complicity. Jessica, once the center of attention, was now the target of their collective anger, her manipulative schemes laid bare for all to see. The baby shower, a chilling testament to the power of truth and the unforgiving nature of betrayal, had become the stage for her public execution. Her humiliation was complete, a bitter taste that would linger long after the last guest had departed, leaving her with nothing but the echoes of her own deceit. The once vibrant home we shared now felt hollow, filled with the ghosts of shattered dreams and unspoken truths. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the joyous anticipation that had once filled these rooms. But in that silence, a new beginning began to stir, a quiet resolve to reclaim my life, to rebuild it on a foundation of honesty and integrity, far away from the manipulative schemes that had almost consumed me. In the aftermath of the storm, a profound sense of liberation began to settle over me. The suffocating weight of Jessica's deception had lifted, replaced by the crisp, clean air of truth. I initiated the divorce proceedings swiftly and quietly, ensuring my financial assets were secured, a testament to my foresight and her blatant disregard for our shared future. The legal process, though emotionally draining, was a necessary step towards reclaiming my autonomy. I sold the house, the very walls echoing with the memories of her lies, and found a smaller, more intimate space, a sanctuary where I could heal and rediscover myself. I reconnected with old friends, those who had seen through Jessica's facade, those who had quietly supported me through the unspoken turmoil. Their unwavering loyalty was a balm to my wounded spirit, a reminder that genuine connections still existed. I immersed myself in my work, finding solace in the tangible results of my efforts, the honest pursuit of my passions. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter, finding comfort in the unconditional love of creatures who knew nothing of deceit. I rediscovered my love for hiking, for the quiet solitude of nature, for the simple rhythm of my own breath. Each step on the trail was a step forward, a deliberate movement away from the past, towards a future unburdened by her manipulative schemes. The pain of betrayal still lingered, a phantom ache, but it no longer defined me. It had become a catalyst, a harsh but necessary lesson that had forged a new strength within me. I was no longer the devoted husband, blindly trusting, easily manipulated. I was stronger, wiser, more discerning. My life, once seemingly perfect, was now authentically mine, built on a foundation of self-respect and genuine connection. I was rebuilding, not just my life, but myself, piece by painful piece, into a man who understood the true meaning of integrity, a man who would never again allow himself to be a pawn in another's game. As I rebuilt my life, a subtle yet persistent anomaly in the digital evidence began to resurface. Not as a whisper, but as a chilling roar, the faint watermark on the fake ultrasound images, the stylized M intertwined with a C, kept nagging at me. It was the logo of Midas Consulting, the shady personal branding firm Jessica had briefly worked for years ago. I had dismissed it as a coincidence, a relic of her past. But now, with the clarity of hindsight, it screamed of something far more sinister. I started digging quietly, meticulously, using the same forensic precision I had applied to uncovering Jessica's deception. What I unearthed was a labyrinthine web of shell companies, manipulated social media profiles, and deliberately obscured financial records, all designed to facilitate elaborate personal deceptions for financial gain. Jessica's fake pregnancy, her affair with Alex, her entire manipulative persona, it wasn't just about her. It was a meticulously orchestrated operation, a client success story for Midas Consulting. Alex, I discovered, wasn't just a struggling artist. He was a trained operative, a honey trap specialist, deployed by Midas to infiltrate my life, to gain access to my assets, to undermine my business for competitive advantage. The betrayal was a dagger, but this deeper, more insidious truth felt like a poison, slowly seeping into the very core of my being. It hinted at a network of professional deceivers, a shadowy organization that preyed on unsuspecting individuals, orchestrating elaborate schemes of emotional and financial manipulation. Jessica, I realized with a sickening lurch, was not just a participant. She was a product, a highly skilled operative, trained and deployed by Midas Consulting to execute their insidious agenda. The fake pregnancy was merely a tool, a means to an end, a way to solidify her position, to ensure my continued devotion, while Midas Consulting planned their ultimate financial extraction. The deception ran deeper than I could have ever imagined, a labyrinthine web of lies that had been woven around me, slowly suffocating the life out of our marriage, all for the benefit of a faceless, ruthless corporation. And I had only just scratched the surface of a network of professional deceivers that threatened to infiltrate every aspect of my life, and countless others. Suddenly, every seemingly innocuous detail, every fleeting moment of unease, coalesced into a terrifyingly clear picture. Jessica's unusual attachment to her phone, her secretive online persona, her evasive answers about doctor's appointments, not just signs of infidelity, but the meticulous operational security of a seasoned operative. The cryptic references to client success stories, of strategic exits, of maximizing returns in her old emails from Midas Consulting. Not just casual banter, but coded language for illicit operations. The hints I had dismissed as mere red flags of infidelity were in fact breadcrumbs leading to a vast criminal enterprise, a network of deceit operating within the very heart of seemingly legitimate consulting. The digital evidence, with its cryptic references to hidden documents and market dominance, was not just a random tip-off. It was a desperate plea from an insider, a silent cry for help from someone who had witnessed the corruption and dared to expose it. It was a carefully orchestrated act of defiance, designed to bring down a powerful criminal organization that had infiltrated the highest levels of society. Jessica, I now understood, was not just a cheating wife. She was a highly trained operative, a facilitator par excellence, using her charm and her position to protect a criminal enterprise. She had used her impeccable reputation, her seemingly altruistic motives, and even the emotional vulnerabilities of her targets as a shield for her illicit gains. She had played me, our friends, and countless others like puppets on a string, all for the ultimate prize: vast sums of illicit profits and unchecked power within their shadowy network. My initial triumph over her felt hollow, replaced by a cold, simmering rage at the audacity of this generational scheme, its manipulative genius. They hadn't just cheated me, they had used me, exploited my trust, and turned my life into a stage for their criminal enterprise. But now I had the knowledge. I had the true blueprint of their systemic deception. And this time, my retribution would be far more devastating, far more permanent. The game wasn't over. It had just entered a new, far more dangerous phase, one that would expose not just Jessica, but the entire network of corrupt individuals who had helped Midas Consulting build its foundation on stolen lives and human exploitation. I stood before the assembled legal team, the glare of the truth illuminating the intricate web of connections, the hidden truths of a generational conspiracy. The secrets, once buried in the shadows of corporate ethics, now screamed from every line of the indictment. The truth, once a whisper, was now a roar. They thought they had won. They thought they had gotten away with it. But they had underestimated me. They had underestimated the power of a quiet man scorned and the collective strength of a community united by truth. And they had forgotten one crucial detail. In the world of true justice, every fake pregnancy, every manipulated emotion, eventually leaves a trace. And some secrets, once unearthed, refuse to stay buried. They fester, they twist, and they will always find their way back to the surface. Because the real game, the one they never saw coming, has only just begun. And this time, there will be no escape. Not for Jessica, not for Alex, not for Midas Consulting, not for anyone involved. The blueprint for their systemic destruction is now complete, and I'm ready to expose every single line of their hidden code. Are you ready to witness what happens when a devoted husband unmasks a global network of professional deceivers?